By the end of year 2020, while the world watched as COVID-19 rapidly changed everything, with little regard for traditional notions of success, Pakistani startups had a lot to celebrate. The global pandemic seemed to be exactly the kind of push that these companies needed to convince the customers to move to online platforms and to convince them of the benefits of these operations. Among the startups that were hailing basking in success were the ones that had entered into online grocery shopping. COVID-19 meant that people no longer wanted to do the monthly trip down to the supermarket. But even as these startups started celebrating a large number of people beginning to use these platforms and trusting their business models, they had one eye on Hum Mart, an early entrant into the game. Taimur Hassan looks at the story of Hum Mart and how a family feud made them squander early mover advantage and allowed startups to gamble their money on eGrocery. A subsidiary of Hum Television, Hum Mart makes an interesting case study. It started operations in 2018 with aplomb, offering deals and discounts aplenty. It had the backing of a large company and its name was well recognized. Yet within 2 years, they had to shut down in what the management is calling a temporary shutdown so that they can revamp. Eyes and ears in the industry are calling the shutdown an introspection point for the grocery delivery industry and if it holds any future in Pakistan. If Hum Mart, which has the backing of a known media company, could crumble, how can others survive? If you go to Hum Mart website today, you'll only find banners and announcements telling you how the company is on a hiatus and is planning to come back bigger and better. As a consumer, however, that does not quite foster confidence in the website. How come they had to take a break and revamp their operations? You might ask. But in the case of Hum Mart, it makes a little sense. In 2019, a venture capitalist offered Hum Mart some money, which the company did not take, even though they were running losses and the company had burned all of its equity. The rationale was that if Hum Television, which owns 70% of Hum Mart, was ready to support Hum Mart, it did not make sense to raise venture money and lose shareholding to a third party. So Hum Television kept on bankrolling the e-grocery business. While there was growth, it was coming on the back of losses. One explanation why losses were occurring was bad management. There have been reports of mismanagement and theft, with a source telling Prophet that there have been instances of riders going out with orders worth Rs 1500 when they would actually be worth Rs 1000. However, a source in the management of the company has denied this, saying that there was no mismanagement in running the operations of the company. The source attributed the shutting down to a risk factor that they could not even slightly perceive could become an existential threat. The feud between Jahangir Siddiqui, the retired investment banker and the founder of JS Group, and Sultana Siddiqui, the force behind Hum Network that resulted in the hostile takeover of Hum Network. In August 2020, the company went down the tubes in the aftermath of the dispute between the two parties, Jahangir Siddiqui and Sultana Siddiqui, in which Jahangir Siddiqui thrusted a hostile takeover of Hum Network Limited. Court cases that ensued resulted in the dissolution of Board of Directors at Hum Network Limited. Reportedly, it was the Board of Directors that Jahangir Siddiqui wanted to dominate. However, the consequence was that the loans that were Hum Mart's lifeline to grow stopped, and in the absence of venture capital money, the going was simply getting tough. According to sources, Hum Mart only had loan approval until September 2020. Hum Mart was incurring losses. Then the funds to support the company had stopped because of the feud at the parent company. In this backdrop, in the beginning of April this year, the company announced shutting down the business temporarily until a clear verdict from the court was announced. While the company claims on its website that it will be coming back, there is no surety if it will be able to make a comeback. Court cases linger on, and while the timeline is uncertain, sources claim that Hum Mart is poised to come back. But whenever they do come back, they are going to face the startups that are already in the scene. Currently, important names in the online grocery delivery space include the likes of Airlift Grocer, Pandamart, Grocer App, Naheed, Carrefour, Metro, Al Fatah, Mandi Express, D-Mart, and many others. All of them took advantage of the demand of the e-grocery during the pandemic and made an impression on the market. This was a time to consolidate, and HumMart was nowhere to be found. All of the aforementioned players are trying to secure a chunk in the $48 billion pie called groceries. Presently, this pie is dominated by offline retailers like Metro, Carrefour, Imtiaz, Jalal Sons and Al-Fatah, who've been around here for decades. Now, while the pie is dominated by big players, startups have found themselves some problems in the grocery purchasing cycle that they are trying to solve. And based on the problem that they are trying to solve, they have constituted different models. For instance, Pandamart, which is an offshoot of the bigger Food Panda that uses a vast network of riders running in thousands to make deliveries for the e-grocery business. These riders predominantly use bikes for these deliveries. The fleet inherently has a capacity limitation that it cannot deliver large grocery orders in one go. Therefore, Pandamart started off delivering smaller value items for easy deliveries on these bikes. Add to that, Pandamart used its strength in data that it has from the Food Panda business to analyze consumer spend in neighborhoods to strategically place dark stores that enable deliveries in 15 minutes through the bike riders. Conversely, Grocer App, which targets high-value grocery items, has a central warehouse from where it dispatches the items for deliveries through rickshaws, though it also has bikes in its fleet to deliver low-value items. Essentially, these startups are targeting different basket sizes for their business, which suits them the most according to their operations. When the news about HumMart shutting down started making rounds, the immediate assumption in many people's heads was that the business was perhaps doing badly, that it could not generate significant revenues or could not see generating profits, which is why it went bust, that the company tied cash into capital expenditure and could not get enough traction. As earlier mentioned, the problem with HumMart was entirely different. But had the problem not arisen, could HumMart have become a profitable business? From candid admissions of startup founders, Pandamart is not profitable, Grocer App is not, Airlift is not, and HumMart was not. At the same time, however, startup founders make claims that they can become profitable whenever they want to. It's just that they do not want to right now for the sake of expansion. Which is why startups, when they're operating in a country like Pakistan, where people are not used to ordering on mobile or website applications, some of their spend is always going to go towards discounts to drive growth. The same is happening with the grocery delivery space. They offer discounts which constricts their margins, which means losses and further funds to sustain the business if they plan to grow at the same time. So in the end game, the startup that is able to constantly fund its operations is going to survive and make profits.